Hello friends, what is up? Welcome back to Life from Mars. Today we are going to be discussing a super mysterious, crazy topic that has left so many experts completely dismayed about what could be the cause. Today we are going to be talking about the Nazca Lines. I'm so excited for this video. This is seriously such an interesting topic you are about to see. Before I get into all of the intriguing details, I just want to say that if you could take a second and please subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate that. I make videos about all things magical, mysterious, supernatural, etc. So if that sounds interesting to you, you should definitely click that subscribe button and watch all my videos from now on. Okay, just saying. Now let's get on with this crazy phenomena. We are going to be talking about the mystery that is the Nazca Lines. The Nazca Lines are a vast set of gigantic lines and geoglyphs that are etched into the desert in Peru. The lines and geoglyphs are primarily located in Nazca and Palpa, which are located approximately 400 kilometers away from the capital of Peru, Lima. It is estimated that these lines appeared or were created about 2,000 years ago, but no one really knows for sure. The site has long enchanted archaeologists, and it has even been named a World Heritage Site. However, enchanted or not, there are still so many things that archaeologists do not understand or know about these lines. They have some very strange characteristics, such as the fact that certain animals and birds that are depicted seem to be exotic to the region. Modern theories suggest that these lines were carved into the ground sometime between 400 BCE and 1000 CE by a pre-Incan people. If you're familiar with Native Americans, you might know that the Incan Empire was an absolutely massive tribe located in South America. The Incans were known to have a vast empire. However, the interesting thing about this is that, like they said, they believe that these lines were created pre-Inca civilization. This leads to even more questions on how these lines could have even been created so long ago. There are several images depicted in the Nazca Lines, including long straight lines, plants, animals, birds, and geometrical designs. Most of them are so large that they are best seen from an aerial view, so to even really see them, especially because we're talking about them being carved into the flat desert, you really have to be in a plane. There's almost no way to actually be able to see the full images from the ground. In total, there are over 2,000 different lines and geoglyphs. The reason that they're actually called the Nazca Lines is because there actually is an elaborate set of extremely long-running lines. They were also carved into the desert along with these geoglyphs. You can see it in the pictures how these lines just sort of crisscross with these pictures. These lines are extremely long and they just go straight through the landscape. In total, all of the lines combined go for over 808 miles and cover an area of about 19 square miles. So we are talking about an absolutely huge network of lines. The lines were created by removing the top layer of sand, which actually has this reddish brown color, which you can kind of see by looking at the pictures. That top reddish layer is actually just iron oxide pebbles that are on top of the actual sand underneath. So when you remove that first layer of pebbles, you can see this sort of yellow, grayish, lighter colored topsoil underneath. The lines vary in width from about 1 feet wide to 6 feet wide, but on average, most of them are around 3 feet wide. It is also interesting to note that all of the actual geoglyphs were also created using only one line. So all of the images that they created of actual animals, plants, etc., all of those images were created using one continuous line. Some of the single lines run for up to 30 miles. And the glyphs range from about 50 feet to 1,200 feet wide. Just for some context, that's about as big as the Empire State Building. I'm sure you can guess why these lines are just so baffling to experts. Doesn't really make sense how these super ancient people that were even large civilizations in that area, apparently, allegedly, could have created something this complex, a network of pictures and lines this complex. It's just sort of baffling. You know, obviously, if we're to assume that these people had very low technology, low resources, did not know a lot about Earth or how to use it, I guess, in what we would consider a modern way, pre to even the native civilizations of the area, you would assume that they would would probably be using most of their energy for maybe, you know, making their cities or getting food or, you know, agriculture, different things like that. It just seems so crazy that like people would just be out there making hundreds of miles of just lines. So the real thing that is super perplexing to scientists about these lines is they really do not understand, one, how they were created, or two, why they were created. Many people do assume that the lines point to some sort of constellation or that they have some sort of astrological significance. Some people even think that they could represent an astrological calendar. Other people have hypothesized that they somehow connect with underground aquifers and that they could possibly actually be a guide to water sources. But still, other people theorize that these lines just could not have been physically created without an aerial view. In other words, they would have had to have some way to see these designs from the sky to create them. To try to understand a little bit more about this phenomena, we have to dive in a little bit more on the details of the actual glyphs and lines themselves. So there are actually two classes of glyphs that exist within this network. The first type is type A. So these are the oldest glyphs. These are the ones that have very long lines, and all of these glyphs are made out of the one continuous line. These were created in the early Nazca period. You also have type B glyphs. These were created a little bit later, and they are mostly formed of shapes. These were created in the initial Nazca period. The type B class glyphs also tend to be a little bit smaller. So because these two classes of glyphs really are sort of different and do seem to possibly be created in different ways or maybe with a different intention, a lot of people tend to study them separately. The mainstream theory for the type A glyphs, the really large ones, is that they were being used for some sort of rituals or ceremony. On the other hand, the type B glyphs, the main theory for them is that they were somehow used for people when they were traveling and that they were meant to indicate sort of a stopping point when you're traveling through that area. Every single year, there are more lines being discovered. Just last year, over 143 new Nazca glyphs were discovered by archeologists. So they really have yet to even uncover the full scale of all of this network of glyphs. Some archaeologists have also suggested that maybe the Nazca people were trying to beg for water or resources from the gods or deities that they believe to be watching over them. They assume this because some of the symbols used are associated with things in nature. For example, spiders are associated with rain. Hummingbirds are associated with fertility, and other animals such as the monkey come from areas like the Amazon where there is a lot of water. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know about all these theories. Some of them do seem to be a little bit of a stretch for me. I think that the thing that is just so weird to me about these lines is I don't really understand how or why they would have created them. There are also so many other things that were depicted by the Nazca geoglyphs, such as condors, a llama, a duck, a lizard, a killer whale, which is one of the more mysterious ones. Again, they don't really understand why they were depicting animals like this that were not in Peru at all. Cactuses, triangles, spirals, arrows, zigzags, humans, hands, dogs, and many others that are still unidentified. They don't really understand exactly what all of them are trying to depict. All that being said, it does seem a little bit unlikely that this could have been created under the circumstances that modern historical and archaeological evidence would suggest. I think that for me personally, I just kind of can't wrap my head around how these people would have created such an elaborate and gigantic network of lines and pictures without some serious manpower that I just don't think that they had. I do think that it would be more believable maybe that this was just some sort of ritual thing if there was a smaller network of lines. Maybe if there was just, you know, one glyph, two glyphs, even if they were so large as 1,200 feet, right? Because some of them are that large. Even if they were that large, I think I would believe it a little bit more if there was just maybe only a couple of glyphs. But no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about hundreds of glyphs, you know? Once again, all of the lines, just the individual lines themselves, run over 800 miles. So that is just what's so inconceivable to me, because this would have had to been so organized, and also you see such high level of precision. You really get the whole image when you're looking at these glyphs from the sky. If they supposedly had absolutely no way to look at it with an aerial view, I I don't know how they would have even created this. Because of a lot of these holes in this situation, some people do assume that perhaps they had some help from extraterrestrials. I obviously am very open-minded to these sort of things, and so I definitely would not say that that was definitively not the case. I don't think it's necessarily the only answer. I do think that a lot of the ancient civilizations on this planet, including others like the Egyptians, who also had very questionable and unexplainable archaeological achievements, I think that a lot of these ancient cultures did have higher levels of technology than mainstream history is admitting to. I do think that there's definitely a pretty good level of archaeological suppression of certain things that just don't mix with the modern historical record. So what you see a lot of the times with things like this is that it's just all chalked up and sort of categorized as a mystery. It's just a great big mystery, and that's a very good way and an easy way for science to just sort of put something in a corner and just say, well, we don't understand that, so we're not going to try to put it in the narrative that we've created because it doesn't fit, and therefore we're just going to say it's a mystery because it doesn't fit with the story that we're telling. And so I think that it's very, very important to talk about these kinds of things because this is our human history, and I definitely think that we deserve to know what these ancient civilizations were actually doing, if they were utilizing technology that maybe we could somehow be utilizing today. Obviously there's a lot of skepticism and sort of hypothesizing and assumption just because there really isn't a lot of super accurate information. Really all there are is theories. And so with these lines specifically, I do think that there could have been multiple reasons why they could have been created. Even when you think about the UFO theory, does it necessarily make sense that they would just be creating a bunch of animals? I'm not sure. And another thing is that I don't really understand why they would be creating these straight lines, especially because a lot of these lines don't lead to anything. It's not like they were creating a network of roads or something like that. That's not what was happening. So I don't really understand why they'd be creating the straight lines. Some people think that maybe they had some sort of car or, you know, craft or whatever that they would have been able to go on these roads, I guess you could say, but I don't know if that's the case either. Like I said, all you can really do is hypothesize. I decided to put these in my week of talking about crop circles just because these lines are often compared to crop circles. You have a lot of similarities. One, the fact that they are gigantic lines that don't really have an explainable origin, seem to be extremely precise, and often have very geometrical and mathematical concepts within the pictures. However, obviously they do have a lot of differences as well. So who's to say that they can be chalked up as the same phenomena? Obviously, once again, it's just all speculation and kind of trying to draw the dots when there's really not a full picture yet to connect. But I would love to know if you all have any interesting theories about what could possibly be causing these lines. Why do you think they were created? Have you all heard any theories that I did not mention today? What do you think is the cause of these lines? If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big like. I would so appreciate it. And if you have not already, please remember to subscribe and turn on post notifications. I post new videos about everything mysterious and magical every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if that sounds good to you, please make sure that you subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I will be back next week with a new topic and a whole new set of videos. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!